Hey, what's going on, Warhammer World? This is Obsidian Anubis, and I'm back with another Ninth Age battle report. So this is the next battle for the Campaign of Gold campaign, the Battle of the Arcane Column. It's a Ninth Age battle report of battle line between two 2,000 point forces, the Empire of Sonstal versus Saurian Ancients, version 1.1. And I must warn my viewers that this battle may be inappropriate for younger viewers, as it is definitely going to be a bloodbath. So fair warning. So for my opponent brought 3 blocks of 20 Saurus warriors, all of them blessed with the serpent, so they get +1 movement. In the far right group, my opponent also has a skink priest, level 3 of nature with dispel scroll. Next to that is the Stagiosaur, the one that shoots venom and has a skink oracle on top. In the middle block of Saurus warriors, hiding behind the trees, is my opponent's general, which is a Saurus veteran with the Sword of Strife and the Taurosaur helm. Next to that is a skink priest, level 1 of wilderness. And then in the front left, you can see a couple chameleons. My opponent has 2 groups of chameleons. This is one of them. The other one is on my side, on the far right of the table. And my opponent also has 4 skink skyriders with Chilchalan, a special character for this campaign, which are ambushers and will come on starting turn 2. So if we look at the rest of the battlefield and my army, so the name for this battle was the Battle of the Arcane Column. So in the center there, you can see the Arcane Column. It gets +1 to casting for all wizards within 6 inches of it, and it is also the secondary objective. So if you have a scoring unit within 6 inches of it at the end of the game, you get the secondary objectives. Other than that, this is just pretty much a battle line scenario. For my army, on the bottom left, I have 20 crossbowmen. With them is Octavio, which is my level 3 Lore of Light. And picture doesn't really give it justice. That's my new Death Wizard for the 1.1, which doesn't really matter so much going in forward into 1.2. But I figured that since it was my new model, I was going to use it. And even though it looks like a Death Wizard, he's just a light wizard who focuses more on shadows and not on light itself. Next to that is a group of 40 pikemen with full command, and with that group is my general in the top right is Antonio Baldera. He is the Hammer of the Witch, Talisman of Supreme Shielding, as well as full plate and a shield. Next to that is my cannon in the runes. Next to that is a group of 50 halberdiers with full command. They are seasoned with nutmeg and a little bit of oregano. I'm just joking, of course, but I like seasoned soldiers and they don't exist in 1.2, so I figured I might as well season them up now before I lose them. With them, I have 2 characters. One is in the top left is Sirio Talvego. He is my Captain BSB, and he has the Winter Cloak. He also has a pistol and full plate. And then in the top right is my Inquisitor, Santiago. He has the Ring of Fire and Brace of Pistols. Outside of this picture, I have 5 readers to the right. And then on the top left of this picture, excuse me, the top right of this picture, I have 10 Rangers as well. For magic, I got Fireball, obviously, for my Inquisitor, and then Divine Banishment, Shield of Protection, and Time Warp for my level 3. My opponent got Healing Waters, Stone Skin, Summer Growth, Breath of Life, and the Phoenix Rises on their level 3, and then the Beast Within on their level 1. And here is the right side of the board, so you can see my Riders, my Rangers, and then my opponent's second block of Chameleons. So, as this is a themed campaign, before we began the campaign, we rolled to see what events were occurring. I rolled Lingering Vapors, which means that for the first turn for both my opponent and myself, all range is halved due to lingering vapors that are still rising from the ground. That begins turn 2, and then we remembered that my opponent needed to roll, and also rolled Hopelessly Lost. So one of my units was pushed back 8 inches, but could not be pushed off the board. My opponent pushed back my Rangers, so they were quite far from my opponent's flank, which is probably a good note for them. My opponent actually beat me on the roll-off because I think they dropped their entire army first, so they went first. So Saurian Ancient turn 1. So as you can see it, my opponent just kind of moved up relatively aggressively, moving the chameleons to start taking pot shots at my cannon. And then over here on the right side, moved up to start shooting at my readers, and then I remembered that they have Vanguard and actually moved forward and away from my opponent, because my opponent was generous enough to let me go ahead and do my Vanguard, which I forgot. So here's what the table looks like at the end of turn one. You can see I actually have another group of readers on the far left-hand side next to the crossbowmen. In Magic Phase, my opponent rolled 5 power dice, which they threw Stone Skin on the red Star Warriors. I believe I just let this through. I didn't care to dispel it. And then I stopped the Oaken Throne, I believe. Or no, my opponent didn't have Oaken Throne. Never mind. Maybe I just couldn't dispel it. Don't remember. For encounters, my opponent got 4 encounters for this game, and I only got 2. It's D3 plus 1. They dropped Quicksand on my Halberdier block and killed about 10 of them, so that hurt. But other than that, I weathered my opponent's first turn pretty well. My cannon took 1 wound from my opponent's shooting. And so that brings us to Empire of Sunstal, turn 1. So this is after charges and after movement. I charged my pikemen into my opponent's chameleons. They fled, and you can see that they fled all across the board. Other than that, I just moved my halberdiers up out of the quicksand, and my readers on the left are now behind my opponent's red Star Warriors, and my readers on the right are now kind of on the flank of the purple Star Warriors. In Magic Phase, I got 7 power dice. I threw up Divine Banishment, and my opponent spelled it, and then I threw up Shield of Protection on my pikemen, I believe, and I got it off. For my event, or excuse me, for my event, I got Carnivorous Plant, which I put on my opponent's chameleons, and I believe it did absolutely nothing. So that was great. In Shooting Phase, I misfired my cannon and rolled a 1, so it is now broken for the rest of the game. Apparently, one of my opponent's darts got jammed in the mechanism and has destroyed the cannon. So that's fantastic. This is after Shooting Phase, which was more or less pointless, and so we go to my opponent's... so I got Shield of Protection off on my Halberdiers. So it brings us to Saurian Ancient, turn 2. So, on my opponent's turn, they charge with the yellow Star Warriors into my pikemen, and the purple Star Warriors into my halberdiers. My opponent rallied the chameleons that were fleeing last turn, and moved up the other chameleons to start shooting at my rangers. In Magic Phase, my opponent got 7 power dice, which didn't do them a lot. I think they attempted to cast Beasts Within on the yellow Star Warriors, and they failed it on 3 dice, even though they only needed like an 8. And then I just used my dice to dispel whatever spell I think they did try to do Stone Skin, and I just dispelled that. In Counter Phase, my opponent also got Carnivorous Plant and dropped it right in the middle of my crossbowmen, and it ate 2 of them, I believe. In Shooting, my opponent killed off 6 of my Rangers, which was no good. And I forgot to mention that my opponent's Skyriders and Chilchalon came onto the battlefield at the beginning of this turn and started taking pot shots at my readers, but didn't manage to do anything. The other chameleons shot at my other group of readers and killed 2, causing them to panic, and they started fleeing, as you can see here. In close combat, yep, it let the bloodbath begin. Just let me tell you that. You can see I lost 11 soldiers. I issued a challenge with my general. My opponent accepted with his champion, so I killed the champion, but barely. I only did 1 wound to it, which was kind of sad. And yeah, my opponent's general has 7 or 8 attacks, so I mean, he by himself probably killed like 6 guys, and the rest of the guys just killed off the whole rank. It was bad. You can see I did kill off maybe, what was that, 5 or 6? I killed a couple. Not nearly as many, but however, I do have more ranks than my opponent, so I was steadfast, and I passed my break test. In the other combat, yeah, it was just about the same. I lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So a few less, but still quite a few. I didn't kill as many though, which was kind of sad. You can see I only killed off maybe 4 or so. I did, however, my Inquisitor attacked his wizard and managed to put 2 wounds on his wizard, so his wizard only has 1 more wound. So that was a bonus at least. So that brings us to Empire of Sunstar, turn 2. So in pre-movement, I guess, I did not rally my readers. They fled. They fled through the Rangers, which then failed their panic test, and they fled. And then I remembered that I had bought the readers a musician, so they actually would have rallied, and so they actually did rally, and my Rangers never ran. So This picture is more or less catching one of my mistakes. Here is what the rest of the battlefield looks like. You can see I moved my readers away from his Skyriders and just started kind of between the forest, making all my dangerous terrains as I did. I was surprised. I thought I would at least kill one guy, but no, they were fine. In Magic Phase, I managed to get 11 Power Dice, so it was a big Magic Phase. I threw up the Shield of Protection on the Halberdiers again, I believe. I attempted to cast the +1 attack, uh, double movement, and gain +1 to hit. But my opponent used the Dispel Scroll, and then I used Divine Management, and my opponent just dispelled that with dice. So big power Magic Phase, but my opponent managed to dispel most of it. So yeah, here's what it actually looks like. So this is the real picture of what happened. I didn't flee off the board, which was good. I took a couple pot shots at these guys, and I think I killed one. So I'm definitely losing in the shooting category. However, over here, this group of readers managed to shoot and kill his level 1 of Wilderness. So that was a good sign, managing to take out his magic a little bit at a time. Over here on the left, my crossbowmen moved a little bit, trying to get away from the carnivorous plant, but didn't move enough, and 2 more were eaten. They took shots at the Solaris Warriors and managed to kill off 4 of them, so that was pretty good. So in close combat, I issued a challenge with my champion against the yellow Solaris Warriors, and because I killed his champion last turn, he had to accept with his Lord, which easily wiped my guy out and did max overkill, but that means that I saved probably 4 more guys, so that was a plus. In close combat, I lost another 6 pikemen, as well as my champion, and I killed 5 of my opponents. I think I lost combat, but I still had more ranks and was steadfast and stood. In close combat over here with the pikemen, I managed to get Shield of Protection off, like I said, and so with that, my opponent didn't really get any wounds. I think they did 4, which is that 4 on the kind of like the what do you call it? My opponent killed 4. I managed to kill 4 as well. However, I had 2 ranks, 2 banners, and the war banner. So I actually won this combat. My opponent broke, but I failed to chase. Well, I failed to catch. I pursued, but did not catch. So that brings us to Stallion Ancient, turn 3. Alright, so this is what the battlefield looks like before charges. My opponent charged the red Solaris Warriors into the flank of my Halberdiers, so I'm going to have to just take that. Luckily, I do have Shield of Protection on, so hopefully that'll save me. If not, then I'm screwed. And of course, they made it, so that was not pleasant. My opponent also moved the Skyriders in front of my other group of readers, dropping the rocks as they did so. And my opponent managed to rally the fleeing purple Solaris Warriors. For encounters, my opponent rolled 8, which is another carnivorous plant. My opponent stuck it right on top of my cannon, and it did nothing, but my cannon's not doing anything, so yeah. In shooting, the rocks pulverized my readers to a man. They were just bloody pulps afterwards. And all the chameleons shooting at my rangers destroyed all of them. My opponent also managed to kill 2 of my other readers, so I have 1 reader left, and he did not panic, so that was a good sign. At least I have 1 guy left. In close combat, I killed 3. My opponent, let's see, his general actually issued a challenge, so his general was in a challenge with my general, and we just played patty fingers with each other. We both slapped at each other and nothing stuck. My opponent killed 5, I killed 3. I think I still lost, but I still had 1 more rank, so I was still steadfast and stubborn and held. Close combat over here, I killed 1. My opponent killed some. I didn't take a picture of it, but not enough that it mattered significantly. I passed my break test if I took one, and I also passed my reform test, which I reformed, so I'm now facing the Solaris Warriors, which may or may not be a good idea because my opponent's going to be slamming into my flank again, but I was hoping I could maybe finish off with this group and then turn to face next turn, but we'll see how that goes. So that brings us to Stallion Ancient, Empire of Sunstal, turn 3. So with pretty much everything dying, I don't have a whole lot of movement. In the bottom of this picture, I actually did move my cannon 3 inches or 4 inches away from the carnivorous plant. And then I used my 1 remaining reader as chaff between the purple Solaris Warriors and my Halberdiers. And when I did this, my opponent just glared at me. And I'm like, okay, you're like, this is a tournament move. Do you want me to just not do that? And they're like, no, I would have done the same. Go ahead and keep it. I'm like, okay, you sure? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, I don't want to get you pissed at me. So we go into Magic, and I rolled 8 power dice. Oh, I forgot to mention. I'll go back a picture. You notice that in the purple Saurus block, there is no wizard anymore. On the combat, which I broke them, my Inquisitor finally managed to kill the wizard, so my opponent has no magic at this time. So 8 power dice. So I managed to get Time Warp off on my pikemen. I also managed to get Divine Banishment off on my opponent's purple Saurus Warriors, which managed to kill 2. I also attempted to cast Shield's Protection, but that one my opponent did dispel. So going into combat, since my shooting is irrelevant, with Time Warp, I managed to kill 4 of my opponent's Saurus Warriors. They kill 1 enemy turn and managed to put 2 wounds on my general, so that was not good in the challenge. Other than that, though, nothing happened. I win combat. My opponent makes the break test. No, I lied. My opponent fails the break test. I chase and catch and wipe out my opponent's general and the unit, and overrun into the rear of the Skyriders. In combat with the Halberdiers and the red Saurus Warriors, I kill a couple, 2, and my opponent kills 7 because I don't have shield protection anymore. I lose combat, but luckily I do have more ranks and am steadfast and I stake. So that brings us to Scion Ancient, turn 4. So my opponent, of course, charges into my chaff, moves up all the chameleons and the Tyrannosaur, or whatever you call it, on the right side, and places a encounter which I think it's a native curse. It makes you make a panic test, and luckily I passed my panic test on my craftsmen, so they're good. Although the plant does eat a couple more. Yeah, my opponent easily kills the chaff and just turns to face my flank. And in combat with the Skyriders, I kill all of the Skyriders. Chilchalon, which is the metal one, which is still in pieces and needs to be put together, takes no wounds but fails his break test and flees off the board. So I just turn to pivot as such. So that brings us to Empire of Sonstal, turn 2. So I actually charge my pikemen into the flank of my opponent's rallied Saurus Warriors, and move up my crossmen. I just march them as far as they can away from the plants, trying to get my wizard within range to cast the +1 attack lightning reflexes, because it's only 12-inch range. In magic phase, I get 9 power dice, and I managed to get shield of protection off. I think I threw this off at the Halberdiers. I don't remember. I'll find out in a minute. I also cast Divine Banishment on the chameleons, trying to cause a panic. I kill a couple, but not enough to... No, I lied. I killed 9, so my opponent has 1 left, but that 1 passes its break test. So that's great. My opponent does manage to spell my other spell, though. In close combat, you can see that we fought a little bit. I think my opponent lost a couple. I lost a couple. I reorientate so that I have more models in combat, because I have pikes I can fight in 3 ranks. Actually, technically I could fight in 4 ranks, but I don't have enough models at this point in time. My general completely flubs in this battle, by the way. So, yeah, actually, I don't think I did a single wound. I think I charged in the flank, completely flubbed. My opponent killed 1 or 2 of my guys, actually won combat, and luckily I passed my break test, and my opponent turned to face. In combat with the Halberdiers, I did get shield of protection off on them, which saves a couple of them, but not enough. I managed to kill 2 of my opponent, and my opponent actually kills my Inquisitor, because I had my Inquisitor on the front rank, and my Inquisitor got killed, because he was a chum and couldn't pass up his 4-up armor save. So that brings us to Scion Ancient, turn 5. So, in movement, my opponent moves the big unit of chameleons around to shoot at my cannon. You can see the 1 chameleon a few inches back. That's the 1 remaining of the second group who passed his panic test. In shooting, my opponent shoots and wipes out my cannon, so much for that thing. But it was really just, paperweight at this point anyways, so it didn't really matter. Going to combat, my opponent killed 4 of my Halberdiers, and I managed to kill 2 of my Saurus Warriors. My opponent killed 4 and has nothing. I killed 2 and a banner, so I actually lose combat, but luckily I passed my break test. In close combat over here, I kill 3 of my opponent's Solace Warriors. My opponent peels off a couple more Halberdiers. I think I win combat, but my opponent stands on double ones. Not that double ones would automatically make them. My opponent just rolled double ones. So that brings us to Empire of Sonsal, turn 5. I didn't take a picture of movement because there was no movement. So going straight to magic, I got 4 power dice, and I threw all of those at Time Warp on my Halberdiers. No, excuse me, I threw Time Warp on my Pikemen, which I did get off without miscasting, so that's a plus. In close combat, my Halberdiers finally managed to kill those last 2 Temple Guard, Solace Warriors, and just turn to face in case they're needed. Even with Time Warp, I completely flub my attacks, and I lose 3 guys in the process. My guys at least stand, surprisingly, and we go to turn 6. So that brings us to Saurian Ancient, turn 6. My opponent just kind of brings up its Tarascudus and Schemarians around to shoot at my crossbowmen. This picture is also the close combat on my opponent's turn. You can see it kills off 4 of my pikemen. I managed to kill 2 of the Solace Warriors. I think there was 5 the last time, so there's 2 now. Or there's 3 now, so I killed 2. I don't remember who passed the panic test or who broke, but everybody stuck around. Which brings us to the last turn of the game, which is where I finally managed to kill off those last 3 stubborn Solace Warriors, and the game ends like this. So, as I warned you, it was a bloody game. I had, 90 infantry to begin with, and now I have maybe 5 pikemen and, 7 halberdiers. So I lost 35 pikemen and 33 halberdiers, as well as my Inquisitor and all my chaff. So I did win, per se. I call it a pyrrhic victory. So point-wise, it was a massacre. Either way, it was 10-10. I did happen to get the secondary objective, though, so that pushed it into my favor. So it was a 13-7 victory for the Empire. But man, that was bloody. I mean, I have barely anything left. My opponent barely has anything left. Whew. My opponent did feel better at least at this battle, though. So although I won, it was not an easy victory. Not like all previous games where it was kind of weighted towards my side. This was a much more even match, and it was really just a slugfest, and I happened to get off the spells I needed there at the end, which managed to push it into my favor. Because, I mean, if I hadn't killed my opponent's wizards and they got some of those spells off, it would have easily turned the other direction. So that is the end of this battle. Yeah, so I'm not sure where I was going with that. We will continue this campaign, of course. We are taking a quick hiatus this weekend, or this week. Those of you in the States know this is Thanksgiving week. Those of you outside the States, it's Thanksgiving week here in the States. So my opponent decided that they wanted to do a big battle. I'm like, okay. I'm like, how big? They're like, well, let's see. The new system has everything double points, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, okay, let's do a 10,000 point battle. Then I'm like, okay, I think I can fill 10,000 points of Empire. We'll find out, which I actually can. I built my army and I can fill 10,000 points. So this weekend, or this week, we are going to be fighting a 10,000 point battle versus Empire of Sonsal versus Saurian Ancient. This will not be part of the campaign. This will just be in the game. This will be using the new rules, obviously, so it'll be a 1.2 9th Age Battle Report. I have played 2 9th Age Battle Reports 1.2 versions so far. One was with the Empire, and honestly, I didn't notice the difference. And one was with Orcs and Goblins, which was similar. I did notice some differences, mainly with the Edbashers being reduced in size. But overall, it seemed about the same. Mechanics, I mean, obviously the mechanics are still the same. Magic is a lot less reliable, or reliable might not be the right term, a lot less required. I've also seen this on the forums where a lot of people are not taking magic users, which I think is both good and bad. I think in earlier editions and in Warhammer Fantasy, magic was too powerful. I feel at the moment that we may have gone too far, where magic is so fickle and so costly that we don't need it anymore. So I don't know. I think we still need to balance that a little bit. But I may have different ideas after I fight the big battle. As I said, I've only fought 1.2 battles so far. So, obviously that's not a very good sample size. So obviously I'm going to be playing some more and playing this big one to see how that turns out. But other than that, if you guys have any comments or concerns, or if you saw any mistakes that I didn't point out because I didn't catch, please put those in the comment section below. Also, if you guys have any ideas of what you'd like to see in the campaign, if you have any suggestions or ideas, also put those down. As always, hit like and subscribe, and as always, game on!